So, if I were to make a list of stupid things I do, somewhere in the top 10 you'd almost definitely find taking apart old computers, especially laptops, and storing stuff that I've categorized as usable, but which cannot possibly be actually useful. Exhibit A, the speakers I harvested from a broken old Dell Inspiron a month ago or so. The drivers are tiny, and while maybe they don't suck for laptop speakers, they certainly can't be good. Well, screw it. We're going to find out, using this tiny amp I bought specifically for bench testing speakers like these, because I clearly have some issues to work through. This thing didn't come with a power adapter, but with a basic barrel plug on some bare leads. And lacking a different compatible barrel plug power supply, I, modified an unused wallboard I already had. Some details on the amp while I get this all hooked up. It's rated for 100 watts of output, 50 per channel, but unless I've failed to understand how the thing functions, you should be able to get nearly 100 watts out of just one channel if you leave the other one empty. If you know I'm wrong, feel free to educate me in the comments. I am literally just stumbling through this as we go. The outputs of the amp will also depend on the input power. The PCB for the amp says it'll take anywhere from 5 to 29 volts input, but the case says 9 to 25. So there's a typo somewhere here, but we'll find out soon enough which it is, because this power supply is a 5-volt supply. Okay, let's just dump something onto the 3.5mm headphone input and see what we got. Which is nothing. And yes, this is a working cable and a working iPod. Yeah, it's an iPod. It still works perfectly, don't at me. The speakers are making a little sort of feedback noise, but no, this power supply, janky as it is, remains unblessed by the saints of jank. Alright, quick trip to the local bin of random laptop power bricks. What, your town doesn't have one of those? And I'm pretty sure this HP thing should fit once I get this cord unwrapped. There. And perfect. Now we plug it in, and our first test. How were the speakers Dell shoved into their old Inspiron laptops? Well, turns out, pretty laptopy. Clear enough highs, but basically the bass response of your thumbnails. But wait, I hear you saying, if the Inspiron I pulled this from was a 17-inch behemoth, how did you know that? You mean to tell me that they couldn't fit bigger or more speakers than this in there? Well, actually, you're right. As creepy as it is that you know this, there was a tiny inch-wide subwoofer in the mix as well. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm going to try and get the best possible sound out of these laptop speakers by using a tiny one as a tweeter and the woofer as, a woofer, using the crossover inside this home theater satellite I tore apart to harvest a tweeter from. That's a story for another time, probably. And yes, I'm using alligator clips for basically everything here. The point is to bench test speakers, so being able to quickly move things around is pretty key. So with the speakers hooked up to the crossover, the terminals on the back run to the right channel on the amp, let's give this a test. And here's my final review of the speaker that I just created. Put simply, the sound is much more robust than the individual laptop speakers themselves, but I'm pretty sure that's mainly down to the woofer being a larger speaker capable of driving more air. With this configuration, I'm not totally sure what the makeup of the crossover really is, so I'm not sure what kind of resistance it's expecting from a tweeter. There's also the fact that tweeters use a different construction methodology than normal drivers, and while these little laptop speakers are about the same diameter as a small tweeter, the driver is inverted and probably a thicker material. Suffice it to say, I don't think this thing is cut out for where it is currently sitting in the circuit. So to be honest, it doesn't really work. But I'm not giving up. I've still got the woofer that came out of this home theater speaker, and plenty of other random bits of crap I've saved up for way too long. So we'll build an actual speaker here eventually. Be sure and subscribe so you don't miss it. Or alternatively, so that you can watch me slowly spiral into madness with the attempts.